Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've now fully stripped down both fork tubes. My fork seals are turned up and I bought some 10 weight oil. So now it's all going back together. Right, so I have rebuilt one fork and it is now back on the bike. I just wanted to double check that I could get it all back together all right before I showed you on the video really. So now, if we go over here, I'm doing the second fork tube and yeah, I'll show you how I do it. Right, so before we get going, there's a couple of things I just want to talk about. Firstly, the new seal. So you got your new seal here. It comes with, they send it with some grease. You want to make sure you put a good bit of that on when you put the seal on. And when you look at the end of the fork tube here, it's quite a rough lip on there. Now it's alright, this one here ain't too bad, but and that one there, because it's going the other way, ain't too bad, but that there is quite a rough edge. So what people do different things. Some people put slide like a bag over and then slide the seal over, but I prefer to use a bit of insulating tape. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is whack a bit of tape just over this edge of there, nice and tight. Just need to go around the once, just like that. Nice sharp blade so you don't get too much of a rough on there. Right, so that takes away some of the burr then. So obviously first of all you got your dust seal. It goes on pretty easy, to be honest. It'll fly on. There you go. Lovely jubbly. Now the next thing is the clip. We don't actually, I won't put that on now because you can just open it up and just flick it over if you need to. It's not the end of the world because it'll keep falling down, and also when you're trying to whack the other bush in, it can just rattle around. So I'm going to put that on afterwards. So now is the fork seal. So put some gloves on. So yeah, put as much grease as you can on the inside of the seal. Lube it up, and the same for the fork tube itself. Like I said, if this burr on the edge here was a bit sharp, I'd probably put a bit of tape around there, but it's not too bad. I can feel it's going to be alright. So, gently. And yeah, this is going to be the tightest bit now. Just pushing up over this. So, what you can do is get the old seal, slide that over. Look how loose that is in comparison. And give it a pull. There you go. A bit slippery with all the grease on there, but it's better that way than catching the seal. Take it all off again. A bit more grease on down here because you don't want any of it catching. There's two holes on here where the fluid comes through. Anywhere there, you do not want any of that catching the seal. So, nice and gentle. There you go. Lovely. Once you get down onto the actual normal bit of the seal where it moves up and down all the time, it should be a bit better. So, you've done that. Now you can take off the bit of tape. It's all very slippery because it's greasy. That's good because you don't want it to catch. Alright. What I normally do then, because you don't want to have any residue on there from the glue or anything, is get a bit of carb cleaner or brake cleaner or something. Give that a bit of cleaner. So it's the reverse of what we've done earlier, or in the other video, should I say. So you got your washer. He's going on like that. Just tip it like that. Stops that washer from trying to catch all the time. So we've got the first seal here now. Just put a bit of lube on there. It'll slide on easy peasy. Now I'm going to tap the whole lot in. I'll show you how I'm doing do it next. Slide that one on. So. You can get the seal, you can get all the seals just started to fit, just sort of push them in like that. The way I normally do this is which is what I did earlier, is I cut the old seal in half, or not in half, just I cut about a third of it out so as it would fit round. You want to use a load of lube for this as well, to be fair, just to keep everything, make sure you don't scratch up the shaft. I'll move the camera around actually because you can't really see it very well there. So what you want to do is get the seal, so like I said I just snipped it, just be careful because there is metal in each end there, but as long as you're careful when you put it on you should be fine. So be very careful because that's why you want to cut away quite a bit so you can get it on, but you don't want to cut away too much because it makes it harder to push the seal in. So what you need to have is, you need to have in your vise, you need to have enough space with a rag around it because you do not want it catching on the side. It's a bit of a fiddle, but obviously if you've got a fork seal tool, that is the ideal. I've always just done it like this. So wind it in until, obviously you don't actually clamp the fork tube, but just enough that the rag's sort of grabbing. Just checking the dust seal's not caught up this end, which he's not. I can feel he's in there. Just nip the vise until, probably to about there. So what you then want to do is get a piece of wood and a hammer and tap it in, and that seal will drive it all up. Let's have a look, see how far it's got now. No, it needs to go a bit further than that. It's got to go further enough that the circlip will fit in still. Right. Once you're at that, it's normally just that bit of metal just lightly touching the vise. Have a look here. So now pull the seal off again, being careful. You can chuck them away now once you've done both, you don't need that anymore. Give it a wipe off. You can see there's no gouges or anything, I haven't scratched it up. But now I can fit the circlip, so if I move it back over here again, just now you can get your circlip, put it like that. Get your trusty pick again. You'll hit click in. There you go. Make sure you double check it is all the way in, all the way around. And also if you find that this recess is deeper down, so say the seal was down here somewhere, you can just double up, you can cut both side fork seals. I've never had to cut more than, if you put 2 fork seals on there, it's probably about nearly an inch thick. I've not found anywhere they're any thicker than that, to be honest, so that normally does the job fine. Now it's time to put the shock back in, or the damper, sorry. However, just before I do that, I'll show you what I normally do with the copper washers. That's what I just done with the other one to clean it up. So here's your banjo bolt and your little copper washer. It's got a bit of a, try and focus. It's got a bit of a groove in the copper washer there. You can sort of see it there. Sort of see it. It's difficult anyway. But what I do is get you some quite fine sandpaper. This is 320. You can do it with 500 or some wet and dry. And then normally I just get the take my gloves off this. It's a trick I've learnt from doing when you're replacing brake calipers or something like that, and you need to reuse the banjo washers because they haven't supplied any or whatever reason. You basically just get it on there, rub it round and round, and once all that does is just flattens the surface off. So it needs to be quite fine. You don't want to do it with anything too coarse. If you did it with like 80 grit, you'd probably just leave massive scores in it. But sort of 320 upwards should be fine. So I normally just either dip it in a bit of oil, like a bit of the fork oil or something like that, just to get it a bit of lubricant on there, and then round and round and round like that. You can see the copper coming off there, then flip it over, do the same to the other side. give it a wipe off. It's started to come through now, you can see. See, it started to scratch away that side's good. Yeah, this side, that side's pretty much smooth. That one needs a bit more. Sorry about that, I didn't realise the camera went out of focus then. But basically, yeah, all I've done just then is, I finished cleaning up the banjo washer and put a bit of grease underneath so when you stick it on, it doesn't fall off. And I've put the fork bottom in the vise here. I had it tilting down. The reason I do that is because there's a washer that just sits on the end of the damper. Just sits on here like that. So obviously if you do it downwards, the best thing to do is if you push it in, if you slide it in the fork tube upwards like that, it's not going to go anywhere. So what I would do is got my Allen key ready with my bolt. Slide this one up inside. Here it gets in, and then you can slide your nice new, not nice new, your banjo should I say, back in. So, nip that up, flip it around the other way. So now it's time to put the fork oil in. All I do is normally get the amount they say in the service manual, and then if I find it's too stiff, I'll drain a bit out of that. I probably won't. I imagine I'll just put in what's in there and I'll adjust the compression and rebound to suit. I'm not really an expert in suspension settings like that, so that's something I really need to get someone to probably help with when I'm at the track. But I'll set them to factory settings. If it's obviously too soft or obviously too hard, I'll wind it back a bit either way, just so as it feels about what I think. But yeah, just got to really have a go. But I'm just going to fill it up now. It should be 480 ml, so basically nearly half a litre. So I got a litre of oil. I've put 480 in the other one, and I've got 480. I've got 500 measured out in this one here. So I'll just leave a tiny drib in the bottom, and then I know that's all right then. And literally just pour it in. When you take the measurement, if you do it properly with an air gap, and you literally just measure the gap from the top here. So say it said there was a 90mm air gap or whatever, you'd measure down 90mm. You could stick a syringe down that was 90mm long and suck it up until nothing sucks up, and you know it's 90mm air gap. But it's easier probably just to stick in what's recommended within reason. I'm happy with that. Now you just slide it up. So you can do it up. Obviously now it's attached and you can pump it a few times. You'll feel a bit jerky to start with whilst the air's in the damper. Look, double check that your Allen key at the bottom doesn't look wet. Get another torch. Yeah, it looks dry as a bone. Now you're ready to refit to the bike. Right, so we've jumped forward a bit now, guys. I've got wheels and the forks all back on. The wheels have got the Bridgestone S20s on. So I've only put the first bit of the top fan back on because I wanted to leave the side bits off so I could do the oil and filter. I can show you down here. You've got some nice fresh brown oil. That looks much better than what was in there. It's a bit black before. I've swapped the rear sets back to the stock ones. Yeah, I couldn't get my foot in a position I was happy with. Found the aftermarket ones that are on there seemed like they were binding a bit because they were sort of, the pivot was a bit high here front. The foot peg was literally as high as this. I had no way of adjusting it down. Even with this part of the mass under here had been cut down without that extra nut that I've just put in there, so it was as short as it could go, and it was still too high. Obviously, you normally adjust it down on there, so if you wind it out, it lifts it up. If you wind it in, it drops it down. But yeah, I could not get it right. So luckily, the guy I bought it off gave me the standard ones, so that should be all right. And then next is to change over gear change back to the stock setup, just so my feet are in the matching place on both sides, and because I've also got the same standard rear sets on my road bike, so it doesn't really bother me. Eventually I might want to get some other rear sets that move my feet a bit, but I'm quite happy with the normal seating position, to be honest. It feels alright, so I don't want to be in an awkward position, especially not on the first track day. I just want to be out there enjoying it. So yeah, next thing will be me and my friend Nath. He's got a CBR 600 F4i. We'll be going up to Pembrey for the track day. I can see what the bike's like. I've ran it up, seen the fan kicks in. Like I said, I've done the oil and filter. I've given it a bit of a check over really, so I'm hoping. Stuff that I had to adjust the head race bearings. They were pretty slack when I put the forks back on. I rolled it forward and back and put the front brake on. You could see it like sort of knocking on the front, like dong 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 as it was going forward. So I had to adjust them up. Surprising actually how much I had to wind them in like a couple of turns nearly. So yeah, it was better when I'd done that. Other than that, really, I say I've got the tyres that I'm taking to the track on there. Obviously, I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on the bike yet, as I've not even ridden it. So I'm going to go to the track day. Be good fun, be a good test for the bike, and see what things I like, what things need to improve. But hopefully next video I make, I should be up there. So see you guys then.